God, it's been all of a week since I've done this, and normally I like to get out around about 2 videos per week. But this week, my fantastic cousin, also named James, got married over the weekend, and I didn't have a chance to film what I wanted. But massive congratulations to my cousin James. The wedding was fantastic. Anyway, welcome back to the RS6. This is the first drive video in this. When I say first drive, people who have watched the collection video are probably thinking, what are you talking about, man? You picked up the car and drove it out of the showroom. What I mean by first drive is, when a car has been ran in, when it's done its first few hundred miles, I will typically then be able to open it up and spank it for all it's worth. The sensitive issue with the RS6 is that even the first 2 hours of ownership of a brand new RS6 engine is imperative that you take your time and run it in steady. And then it's the first 500 miles, which are also meant to be taken very steady. And then 500 to 1,000, you can, use its power a bit and exploit its torque, but there's no sort of redlining or late braking or anything like that. So, the car is ran in. Do you know what? I've never expected the reaction to this car to be so popular. People seem to love it. The color sometimes, okay, take it or leave it. Fortunately, the majority of the color quotes online have been great. But just the general love for the RS6 generally has been amazing. And as you know, normally on this channel, it's often about supercars, but now we finally have a chance to run a regular daily, what I would call super wagon, super estate. I guess it depends on which side of the pond you're on. It's been great, so I'm really excited to share the adventures in this car, because from the comments I've seen, people are excited about this car. So, what's been happening so far? Well, as we speak, right this second, I'm about to have done 2,000 miles in the RS6. I've had it for just over 2 weeks, so when I say this thing's going to be a daily driver, evidence is right there. We are putting some serious miles on it. I actually drove to the wedding in it that I just mentioned, and despite me doing lots of daily drives in the RS6, it's the first example, it's the first time that I've used this car in exactly the kind of context that I expected. We packed this thing, full of a few days worth of clothes, and of course, with us going to a wedding, the lady liked to pack a lot more clothes than we actually needed. So it was a great opportunity to do exactly what this thing was designed for. It was packed to the hilt, boot was full, we had bags on the back, we had shoes stuffed down the footwell. I also brought my camera, laptop and all of my editing gear, because you never know, and the wedding was also near Goodwood, and this thing just took it all, and there was also room to spare as well. But the exciting bit is, we did all of that in something that is just mind-warpingly capable for the nature of the car that it is. Now, let's just take a step back 1 second and just go through what this thing is. So, it's the V8 engine out of the original R8. That's its sort of base. Obviously, the engine's been reworked since then, and they've gone and slapped on big ass turbos. And what this has given us in the RS6 performance is 605 brake horsepower and enough torque to just twist your ears off. When you put your foot down in this, and you can be 5 people sat in this car, bags full, on your way down some lovely country lanes, and it is as composed as it is when it's empty. You can just floor it, and the performance is exactly the same. It doesn't bat an eyelid. And what's really impressive is that swell of torque is available pretty much all of the time. Now, the engine characteristics, naturally, with it being a turbocharged car, there is some lag. I've been a bit spoiled lately, because the turbocharged car that I've been driving around in has been a 675 LT, and there is virtually no lag in that thing at all. But that car also weighs, 1,300 and something kilograms, whereas this thing's around about 1,800. And considering it has that much weight and this much practicality, I was having a chat with friends about this, and we were saying, you know, if you could have one car, and this is a bold question, and let's keep this within the realms of reality. Let's not go one car, Bugatti Chiron. If you could have one car that is, okay, it's expensive, but it's not in the leagues of the super crazy, you'd be hard pushed to find anything that does as many things as this thing does. On the drive back from Goodwood, I did have a bit of a brisk encounter with a BMW M3. It was raining, and as a result, I left that thing for dead. And that's exactly where this thing comes into its own. We've got all of these key attributes that people look for in a car, and oftentimes they'll go for one of them that means the most to them. That might be practicality, performance, four-wheel drive, aesthetic, sound. If we look at those things in the RS6, it has pretty much all of them. Now, in terms of the aesthetics, if you read an article on this car, journalists will have you believe that Audi have done a very good job of subtly packaging an insane monster in an otherwise unassuming shell. And to a degree, I suppose that's right. I mean, if you think of the fact that we're in a 605 brake horsepower car here, this is most certainly not the conventional layout for a car of that nature. Having said that, when I see this car, every time I walk up to it, even when it's parked next to the F12 or GT3, it looks menacing. It has so much stance. The wide arches just flare it out and make it look really chunky. And that front end grille, especially with the obnoxious Quattro badge, nothing says get out of the way like a big ass RS6 Quattro grille. So yes, so far, aesthetics, awesome. Wow, I'm driving down here, slightly off topic. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 AC Cobras have just driven past me. 5. Standard day out. Oh. So, looks we've just covered. Most people, if you're looking at an estate car or a station wagon type of layout, obviously one of the things on your mind is practicality. Now, at the risk of sounding like a dull car reviewer and talking about practicality and things like that, I can only vouch on my short experience with this car. I mentioned earlier that you know, I drove down to Goodwood for a wedding, and we were packed with all sorts of gear and crap, and it was brilliant, and we had loads of space to spare. Now, these super wagons, these super estate cars, they are a very niche product. If you think about what's happening here, you've got, you know, sort of high-end sports car performance in something that is conventionally practical. And I say it's niche because they're pretty expensive and they depreciate like a brick, right? So while they are fantastic, because they are in a niche space, most people looking for this kind of layout in a car aren't always looking to go bloody fast as well. They're mostly concerned about having perhaps four-wheel drive and that extra space. Whereas what this does is takes the power of an R8 and puts it in something that, you know, you can travel quite happily with 5 in. You can have 5 in there, boot full. It almost feels like it performs better under load. It sort of just hunkers down a bit more and thanks you for using its capacity. It's pretty impressive stuff. When I went to Goodwood, the weather was atrocious. Like, it was so bad. And I don't know, I derived a bit of pleasure from like crunching through all this countryside dirt. Clearly there'd been lots of like farming work going on in the area because the roads were just covered in crap. And I'd got like friends in the back, it was pouring it down with rain, and we were just cruising on pretty swift. Music playing, all the bags were there, you know, and everyone was just happy and we were getting on with it, and this thing didn't struggle. In fact, I relished trying to find a situation where this thing would like break traction. And I don't mean with throwing it around corners, I mean flooring it in second when there's mud and dirt and wet on the road. Didn't bat an eyelid, my head just slams back into the seat and off it goes. So far, this thing is everything that I hoped it would be. Now then, practicality is one thing, aesthetics are another. The power in this thing. is beyond ridiculous. I mean, it's not quite supercar, but just remove your brain from the supercar sphere for a second and appreciate what we're sat in. And it's effectively some like nuclear tank. It's stupid. Like the grip it's got as well, together with this power. Just get a load of this action. And it just farts and bangs and pops on the override all day long. And the gear shift doesn't hang around. Like it does change down when you want it to. I've driven some earlier like conventional auto gearboxes, and sometimes you do shift and think, yeah, that probably should have shifted about now, and then it hands you a gear and you're like, okay, this thing genuinely does go. It's so stupid. I love it. Yeah, so in this country, it's debatable whether this car is actually needed or not. I mean, chances are that this car was designed because of the Autobahn. I mean, who needs a 200-mile-an-hour estate car? Only the Germans. The fact that you can even spec carbon ceramic brakes on a car like this, I think is a fantastic thing. I'm not sure how long super estates are gonna be around for. I said earlier, they are quite niche, they're pretty expensive. I mean, they are everything that the, Audi A6 is, but just a lot faster. Like, estate cars shouldn't sound like that, but this is so cool. I mean, I'm sure, these pops and bangs, they're probably heavily over-engineered. Doesn't need to make that. But then again, they didn't need to even make this whole car. No one needs an estate car that goes this fast and is this capable. But, as with all of these things, a lot of the purchase decisions in the realms of supercars, or in this realm, super estates, are all done with the heart. This is the sort of thing that you look forward to just crushing miles in. And so far, all 2012 that I've done now have been joyous from day one. Anyway guys, it is still early days with the RS6, but there's definitely going to be a living with video coming with the RS6 where I'm going to highlight all the pros and cons, and we've got to arrange a road trip. I think while this is a great car for your daily commute and just running around, I would imagine a trip to the Alps in the winter with this thing would be fantastic. Dudes in the back, skis on the roof, and I need to arrange that and just document the whole thing, because not only would it just be hilarious fun, but I think it would be a true testament of the capabilities and character of this car. So, lots of adventures to plan so far, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching, guys. Ciao!